My name is Joseph Mba. I'm one of the directors and writer of this movie, Genesis. So the idea for this film came from the desire to make a feature. The universe itself came from a desire to do something different, something that I see that DC and Marvel is not doing with their whole universe. And I just wanted to make something on the independent level. So this movie basically was, okay, how do we introduce this universe? So I wanted to make a film that basically sets the stage for everything else that's going to happen within this universe. So I decided to base this movie off of a short film that we did about 6 years ago. It was basically a short film about, this drug dealer named Seuss and all the different things that he got himself into, and Momo and all of that stuff. The challenging part about bringing this script to life was, again, being that it's the intro of the universe, is the first thing people are going to see of this universe. It's challenging to decide what to put into it and what not to put into it. And as I found out, trying to put different things into it too much, people get lost and the story becomes hard to follow. So you kind of have to decide, well, do I want to introduce the universe, or do I want to introduce the universe, or do I want to create a film that people are going to enjoy? So that was the tough part about it, is balancing it between a movie that people enjoy and being able to put enough things into it to set the stage for other films to come. Up until recent, with the release of Deadpool, there hasn't really been any superhero movies out there within that universe that there hasn't been anything within the two main universes, and by that I mean DC and Marvel, that really caters to the independent film viewers, the people that like to kind of watch the things that's a little bit more edgier. All DC and Marvel, they're very Hollywood, very commercial. So what we're bringing different to the screen is trying to get that Hollywood-like quality, but with independent film stories, which I think people are gonna, enjoy. So what I think will surprise people about this film is the level of quality. And the reason why I say that, not to say, hey, this is the best quality film you've ever seen, but I think when people find out what the movie was made for, they will be pretty surprised. The director that I look up to is Christopher Nolan. I just love the way he tells stories. I think he's a genius, and that's simply put. And if I could one day be on his level, then I'll be good. So as the writer and as one of the directors of this film, the story have changed a lot from the first draft to the final edited version of this film. Again, with the whole thing about deciding what to keep and what not to. The movie first started off with a lot of different characters that they're good for the universe, for people to get to know these characters. But because we had these characters in the movie, the story of this current movie was suffering. So I had to decide that, hey, losing these characters now will help this movie, and losing those characters and their part of the story would actually help the film in general. So the film have changed in the sense that we removed scenes in the final edit, we removed characters in the final edit, and we rewrote the script to include new characters and new scenes to kind of help the story move along. And then, later on, we can bring back those other characters that we had to cut. I think the most important scene in this movie is definitely the introduction scene, the opening scene, because that's the scene that sets the stage for everything else that's going to happen in the movie. That's the scene that says, hey, this is what this movie is about. These are the players. So I think that's the most important scene. The hardest part about putting this film together was everything, honestly. It's an independent movie. Everything that can go wrong will go wrong all the time. For anything from not having money, to, location canceling on you last minute, to cast crew not showing up, when they're supposed to on some of the days. Life happens. My car broke down. Well, I'm sorry, I can't show up to shoot today because my car broke down. So so you just have to work around it. So that's just everything about it was difficult. But I'll say on the creative side of things, the hardest part for me as a director was having to cut scenes and characters out of the movie. That was difficult. I felt like crying. I didn't actually cry, but that's how bad it was. I was like, man, because as a director you get attached to what you shoot, and it's they're beautiful, and you're in love with these characters and the kind of way you're trying to go with it. But if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. So that was very difficult for me to cut scenes and characters out of the movie. I learned something while being on someone else's set that actually made it easier for me to edit this movie, which is edit as we shot. I basically cut dailies as we were filming, so that when we got to the ending and I had to put the whole movie together, I already had scenes cut together. I didn't have the whole movie cut, but I had a majority of it cut. So all I did was just drop scenes onto the timeline and then start changing things. So that made it easier to edit the whole movie. It became more of a challenge to edit things again as we began to take scenes out and put new scenes in, and then move sound effects around and make sure that as you're watching the movie, a random sound effect doesn't show up on someone else's dialogue. Just making sure that the whole timeline was clean. And then the other challenging part was getting down the pacing of the movie, because that was really important. Again, the challenge is being a director and an editor. That is difficult because as a director, you're in love with things that you shoot and you don't want to cut them. But I have to fight with myself and take off the director's hat and be an editor and just take out the knife and just start slashing the scenes, So that was difficult to do, but I did it, and I'm still alive. So yeah. My favorite part of the movie is the ending scene where Momo runs off the super speed. The reason why it's my favorite part is because just like everything in this movie, a lot of things I did on this movie are things I've done before in terms of visual effects. But that particular visual effects is something I never tried before, but I had an idea of how to do it, and is my favorite because I just went out, we shot it, and I just did it, and it worked out, and I'm in love with I'm in love with the way it looks. So that is my favorite scene in the movie. Each time that part comes up, I'm like, oh, cool. So yeah.
I thought it was the deleted love scene.
No, okay. Now I will say, my favorite sex scene in the movie, unfortunately, I had to cut. And that was difficult. Like I say, it was very difficult. But other than Momo's running scene, Detective West, family, dinner, and bedroom and sex scene, and the kid being picked up in the school, those were my favorite scenes for multiple reasons. One, the school scene had all my nieces and nephews in the scene, and they've supported my filmmaking journey from when they were born, and my little sister, all of them supported my filmmaking journey, and it was finally an opportunity to say, hey guys, I'm finally doing this feature, come and be in it. And everyone came out, and it was hot, and it was terrible that day, but they stuck it out, and the scene looked great.
And then you cut it.
And I cut it. And I had to go and apologize to them, and obviously I showed them the scene and stuff, but that was difficult. But those scenes were my favorite because it's one of those things that when you watch movies, you're like, oh man, I want to shoot a scene like that one day, So yeah, that whole sequence. But it's gonna be in the deleted scenes. So please do me a favor and do my little sister and nieces and nephews and Detective West a favor and watch that scene. It's kind of cool. An advice I would give to anyone who wants to edit feature films is just start doing it. You know, per my experience on this film, no one is going to come and hand you their feature film and say, hey, you beginner guy, here's my feature, cut it for me, and I'll pay you $1 million. You know, that doesn't work like that. So go out, find someone who, there's probably somebody out there who has a camera, who have never shot anything before and is looking for someone who edited. Just start talking to people, go to your local film school, whatever, start networking. You will find people who are on your level who will give you the opportunity. And even if you don't have someone who will give you the opportunity, do what we did. Just go out and do it. You know, take videos on your cell phone and edit them. You know, just start doing stuff. And that's what we had to do on this movie. Is like, well, Hollywood is not gonna come and give us $1 million, so we're gonna go out and make a movie. And that's what we did. We just went out and we wrote a movie, figured it out. It was tough, but we did it. So that's my advice. Just Nike, just do it.
And the same with if you want to make a film or direct a film.
Right. If you want to be a feature film director, as I wanted to be a feature film director for 6 years, and that's all I was like, yeah, I want to be a feature film director. I'm gonna direct a movie. But all it was, I was just talking. Okay, if you want to be a director, just go out and do it and figure it out. And I know it sounds like what you're probably gonna hear from everybody else, but that's just the truth. Is that, you know, like I said, Hollywood is not gonna come and give us $1 million and say, here, go direct it. You know, and not to say it doesn't happen, but in reality, for most people on our level, that's not gonna happen. So you have to, you know the talent that you have, and until people can see you actually have a product, they're not gonna buy into you. So what you have to do is you gotta go out and do it yourself, you know. And like I said before, there's probably a friend that you have. Like I found, you know, Nick, we were on set, you know, working on someone else's project, and then he wanted to do a feature, I wanted to do a feature, you know. So I was like, hey, you got resources, I got resources, why don't we get together and make a feature? And that's how it happened.
I think that was my idea, actually.
I think it was our idea. It was our idea to make it, you know. But that's the point, is that you never know who is around you, who's thinking the same thing, and until you speak up, you know, until you go out and talk to people and start doing stuff, then you will never know. So just go out and do it and talk to people and get it done. All right.